How's it going, guys? This is Taurific, recording to you live from Studio 69. This is the first part of a easy mode run through for Dark Souls 2. It's not exactly a overpowered in 30 minutes type run through, but you're gonna see that we're gonna get really comfortable really quickly. We're gonna get some really good stuff off the bat. We're not gonna do anything that is overly difficult. In fact, we're just gonna make this as easy as possible. We're starting out with Explorer class. It has good vigor, endurance, and vitality. The adaptability is kind of what sets it apart. It starts out with 12 adaptability, which is phenomenal. And I think 7 attunement, so that also adds into the agility. It gives you witching urns to start out with, so you don't have to get up too close to this golem. The great thing about the Explorer class is its initial survivability. Nothing else is really too impressive, but that's fine because the consumable items in Dark Souls 2 are great, and I think they're actually a lot better than they were in Dark Souls 1, and we'll be using that to get through a lot of the tough parts in the beginning. In this playthrough, we're gonna stay away from the miracles, sorcery, and hexes. The final build is gonna be a dual Avelyn, dual Red Rusted Scimitar set. This is also the reason that we're using the Explorer class. If you're gonna do any soul level restrictions on your final build and you don't want spells to be a part of your final build, then start with the Explorer class because it has the least amount of faith and intelligence investment, and this will make it the most optimal class to start with. It does have quite a bit in attunement, but this is fine because you're going to need that for agility anyways. In order to get the dual Avelyns, this run through is going to have to go quite a ways into New Game Plus. You also have to go into New Game Plus for the Red Rusted Scimitars, both of them. We're going to try and keep these run-throughs as efficient as possible and fight as few bosses as possible. We're picking up the Crimson Parma right here. We'll use this shield to start off. There's some other shields that you can two-hand for the Dragon Rider. All you need is a shield. If you sprint to this bonfire as quickly as you can, you should be able to sit at it. It's fairly reliable. It's also fairly reliable that you'll get hit by this hammer guy, but I still haven't died from him, so don't panic too much if you get hit. Here I'm going to try and roll past the right side of the Dragon Rider. I should have hung left a little bit when I was backed up against the fog gate to provide myself a little bit more room to roll to the right, but that's fine. Here I'm just blocking at the crease of the platform in the walkway because every time this guy swings, he'll move to the right just a little bit until he falls off. This is similar to the technique that most people use for the speed run. They start out the same by rolling, but they time the roll a little bit better so the Dragon Rider jumps off the walkway as he makes that first lunging attack. Here we're gonna send the good old faithful traitor, or traitress, back to Majula and then run past all these guys. For those of you who aren't too familiar or comfortable with these larger knights, despite their appearance, they're actually some of the easier guys to get past. And they actually don't even swing that hard. So here's what we came here for. The Knight armor has a lot better stability than our starting armor. This goes for most starting armors across the board. So heading back to the Majula, we're gonna get our cat ring, which makes everything a little bit more safe, and we're gonna need it anyways to get down to the gutter. So I definitely don't do too spectacularly as I go through this area. I'll actually kind of take every hit that I can. This is definitely not on purpose. I just XUXX XXXX. Though, as you can see, this armor is very comfortable taking hits in this area. You don't actually have to get that item that I just got. I decided to get it just to be on the safe side in case I run out of humanity later on. Past the fog gate, they shouldn't really follow you. Every so often they will, but it's pretty easy to keep moving forward. Up here I try and loop before I go up the ladder to get my stamina back and to also pull them away from the ladder. This is a good time to crush all your souls and get at least 30 fire bombs. 30 fire bombs is what you're going to need to be doing what we're doing, but definitely get more if you can. I got 34 just now. So those not familiar with that shortcut, just stand 3 tiles away from the corner and then aim down. What I just picked up there were some witching urns, which, you know what I mean. Estus flask, shard, right there, along with a hand axe. Both are very useful moving forward. The hand axe has a lot better damage with regular combat, but it just doesn't have the critical hit damage from the backstab, so you'll see me sticking with the dagger for the most part. I'll eventually put my axe in my other hand. This is a great thing about the Explorer is you get the Pharaoh's Lockstone in your inventory, so you don't have to go and find one before you go into this area. Block here if you see white smoke. For those of you who don't know, that door that I just hit, that's the only way you can open it. You just gotta hit it and then the enemies will open it for you. When I miss this backstab, I just hit the R1 without comboing the R1. If you rapidly hit the R1 over and over again with the dagger, you tend to push them away and then they escape your stun lock. If you feel comfortable here, you can throw a firebomb at these barrels, and it'll hit the turtle and take a good percentage of health off of him. Here I make the mistake of going after the fog gate immediately. What you should do to avoid this whole mess is go left, but just enough to aggro the 2 spear guys. Then return to the staircase, go up top and wait for them to move away from the gate. At that point it should be pretty safe. This is probably one of the only useful shortcuts that you can open up for yourself in the game. I know it's a big critique and it's kind of well deserved, but the traveling aspect of Dark Souls 2 is nothing compared to what it was in Dark Souls 1. In my opinion, Dark Souls 2 makes up for this by putting a greater emphasis on item discovery. And they create situations where getting there just simply isn't enough. It's It's kind of similar to Pokemon, where Viridian Gym is the first gym that you can get to, but the last one you can access. The well that I'm coming up on is a good example. Can't really do anything with it until you get the cat ring, or until you go all the way to the Earthern Peak and access Gilligan. This little jump across right here, you don't actually have to jump across. In fact, it's safer to just aim at that item and then sprint forward. That way, you'll get it every time. Sometimes jumping across can trip you up a little bit and make you just walk off the thing, or other times you'll jump too far and you'll hit the wall, and there's this little invisible portion of the wall that'll stop you and make you fall short. I'm about to try and kill the crystal lizard with the witching urns. Ends up being a failed experiment at the cost of 2 witching urns. Dropping down here isn't too difficult. Just make sure you got your cat ring on and you're ready to run. As long as you run past them, you shouldn't have to roll, but for security, it's nice to roll. I grabbed some dung pies to try them against the giants. It ends up doing nothing. Right here, if you don't want to get the Twinkling Titanite, just go straight past the dog, and then you'll find yourself at the bridge that the exploding guy is on. Otherwise, you can get an extra large soul here, and then go get some Twinkling Titanite. This is the one little tricky part that I decided to do. If you don't want to do this, just hug that left wall, and then there will be a drop off that leads you back to the bonfire. Otherwise, make this jump. Melinda will leave if you go back to the bonfire as well. Excess fire bombs makes this really easy. As I said, just make sure you save 30 for the following part. After you clear out this area, you'll get a partial reimbursement of 3 African American fire bombs. Right here, this drop off is tricky. If you have enemies around, they can easily push you off as you're trying to drop off here. The reason for this drop off is to get to your Titanite chunk. This area is kind of tricky. Sometimes a guy will be going down the ladder as you go up. Make sure you're not at full sprint and out of stamina on your way up, or else he can knock you off very easily. If you do see him, just go right back down and then loop the undead until you know you're clear to go back up. On your way up, there's a large soul. After that, just go straight up the ladder. If you wander around, you might get knocked off by a bomber. On your way down, be ready to roll. Getting up this ladder, you'll have just enough time to open the chest, grab your great club, and then jump off. I would not suggest going back to the ladder. I got pretty lucky here. As long as you have your cat ring on, you should be able to just jump right off the side. Roll twice through the pots, and you got your Fragrant Branch of Yore, which is our ticket to our second dragon ring. These enemies don't have lateral attacks. They can hit you as long as you're somewhat close to the opening that he's coming out of. If you stay near the opening, the only way that he can actually hurt you is by retracting and then catching you while you're in front of the hole. If you do get caught, you might get hit off the cliffside, so really make sure that you roll back. Here, make sure you roll when you're in front of the poison guys. Otherwise, they'll stun lock you and leave you to get eaten. So after you get that Pharaoh's Lockstone, you can throw a bomb in this pool. There's several pools where there are enemies. As long as you're not nearby, they'll stay in the pool and just get all burned up. This is one of my favorite areas just because they really let you get away with a lot in terms of your consumable items. Right here I got hit pretty hard. I tried to run between the giants. Don't ever do that. Always run around them. For the most part, if you run around them, they'll never even swing at you. That's the first time and last time that I'll ever run between them. So right now, this is when we're going to use all our bombs. Try and situate yourself a little bit left, because he's a right-handed character. You're going to have to play little chicken, which is fine. If you get hit once, you won't die. And usually, they can't string their attacks together too well, so you'll have plenty of time to get back and heal up. It should take about 13 direct hits for each of them, but sometimes you'll get a partial hit and only get half damage. Once you kill him, you'll get a Pharaoh's Lockstone and a Forbidden Key. We're going to use this Forbidden Key to get Havel's armor. You can also get a shield. This drop, along with the Ring of Giants and the Petrified Dragon Bone that was in the chest, end up making this a pretty profitable detour. From the first bonfire in the gutter, we'll get to Havel's set. The other door that you can open up with the Forbidden Key is in the well. There's a ladder leading up to it. It contains a chime that is very good, a catalyst that is not so good, Soul Vortex, and Great Lightning Spear. Here, don't be afraid to drink quite a bit, because we're just gonna homeward bone out of here. As long as you stay in this area, those guys don't follow you all the way. Here we'll have lots of souls to crush, so we can get up to level 20 in strength. This will allow us to use Havel's armor set and wield the Great Club. We actually only need 14 strength to wield the Great Club with 2 hands. The parameters are 28, so half would be 14. I went back, got the coveted Silver Serpent Ring, which I probably should have gotten prior, and then bought some more fire bombs for later on. As you can see, No Man's Wharf ends up being somewhat of a breeze, a sea breeze. And by that I mean if you R2 attack everyone, if you don't kill them, at the very least, you get time to regenerate stamina and re-attack when he comes right back up. Make sure you get all the large souls in this area, they really add up. As long as you get past these 2 guys, you shouldn't have any trouble putting this Pharos Lockstone in. The poise that you get from the armor and the Ring of Giants +1 makes it pretty difficult for you to get interrupted. Speaking of the Havel set, it's definitely better to be wearing the leggings and the gauntlets than it is to wear the whole knight set. Also, if you're using a female character, it's rewarding to the eyes as well. As you can see, this is a great area to have a Pharos Lockstone available for. It's another great example of how item discovery and item management can make all the difference in your playthrough, and it drastically changes the environment that you're about to walk into. Lots of large Titanite shards around here, regular Titanite shards, and there's going to be a twinkling Titanite coming up soon. This is always fun because you get to play around with some poison pots. I'm able to poison that guy, so by the time he comes back up, he's dead. The Great Club is awesome for the lizards, as you can see right here. I have the Royal Soldier's Ring, and I can wear more stuff. Homeward Bone back will allow us to level up our Great Club to +5. Additionally, we'll be able to level up our Vigor to 9. Unfortunately, you have to do a little bit of dancing around just to get Leningrass to sit on his bench. Here we're just gonna roll through the same way. I'm about to take a little detour. I'm gonna summon Lucatiel, and I'm gonna get this Titanite shard from this one shack. If it were for the Titanite shard alone, I would not have gone in here, but there's also a bandit set. And one thing about the bandit set is it has a really nice headpiece that looks good on female characters. As I'm sure you could already tell, Lucatiel did not follow me to the boat. I ended up spending 10 minutes a little bit later trying to get her to come to the boat. You won't see it, I edited it out. But the big mistake that I did was I did not black separation crystal Lucatiel out of here. I was a little bit frustrated and I wasn't really thinking, but in the end I ended up finding a flexile sentry that was much stronger than it needed to be. Despite having Lucatiel summoned, as you can see, I'm still taking big chunks out of the flexile sentry. At this point it should almost be dead. One thing to learn from this battle, I guess, would be to stay away from the sword side of the flexile sentry. Of course, this is another demonstration of how great this armor is. If you have never been comfortable playing without a shield, and you want to get comfortable playing without a shield, this is a good way to start. Your Pyromancy Flame. Here we go. Spend all our souls and level up to level 20 vigor. This Heidknight ends up being pretty tough if you actually fight him. So instead of dropping down right here, there's a little trick where you can just walk along the top of the wall. Drop down, get the Estus Flask and the large Titanite Shard, and then just kind of sneak right past these 3 enemies. As you can see, the dog doesn't follow me, which is pretty cool. I have not once been able to use that rolling barrel to break open that wall the first time. Luckily, with consistency, the second time will always work. This club is so good. Look, here's a large Titanite Shard, and down there is Lucatiel waiting to give me a ring of steel protection. There's some exploding barrels on the other side of that door that you normally can't open from this side. There's several ways to open it up, but if you have anything explosive, it'll do the trick. Here I normally try and knock the barrel down without actually hitting it. So the whole purpose of going over here is to get the antiquated key. What that allows me to do is not have to fight any of the bosses in this area except the Lost Center. We're not going to go after the Lost Center right away. First we're going to build up a little bit more. We'll build up the club, get some new weapons, and we'll also get the second dragon ring, which is going to be a big plus. Also, we'll make sure to get the ember so we can start giving some elements to our weapons. And then we'll go and start taking on those large souls. Here, the guy won't push down the barrel. So all you have to do is you have to make sure that you lure him away from the barrel before you start fighting him. You should be fine. I hope you appreciate my trick. Once you light the sconce and get all the goods, we'll have a +7 Great Club and we'll be able to level up to level 39, get a little bit more adaptability in us. So this is the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've ever had trouble with Dark Souls 2, I hope this gave you a better sense of control. If not, I just hope this gave you a new perspective. There will be continuing episodes. Next time we'll get the second dragon ring, the Red Rusted Scimitar, and that dull ember. Your faith in your friends is yours.